Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's May the 8th, 2025, and this is the Denver Business Beat podcast. My name is Arica Netterville, and I'm your host today. And our very special guest is Mr. Michael Ryno. How are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And as you guys are seeing, we're in Ryno Studios, and this is a beautiful facility for photos, LinkedIn, corporate photos. Maybe you recently had a baby and you want to take a picture of that baby and celebrate your new family. Great place to come and have photos. There are furnishings in here if you want opulent, elegant. There's chandeliers, so you can really have a great photo session here with the one, the only, Mr. Ryno. I'm so excited to do a deep dive into all things photography with you today. But before we do all that, let's tell everybody a little bit about you, where you come from, where you went to school, where you grew up.
Okay, that's a long background in that. So I grew up in California.
Oh, okay.
I used to did swimming and water polo and so forth through college. I went to college at Long Beach State, got my master's degree in finance, went from there into, I did the corporate banking, so I was working for Bank of America out there, several other finance companies. More recently, I was doing large corporate finance for a bank out here in downtown Denver, so that gave me a chance to come out to Denver quite a bit.
Yeah.
While I was doing that, I picked up a camera. I do a lot of fly fishing, outdoor activities. So I got a camera to go capture pictures of, I like to say that trout live in pretty places. So whenever I was out there, I got a camera to go take pictures of the mountains and the scenes that I would come across. Joined Lone Tree Photo Club right after I bought the camera to learn how to use it. Was president of Lone Tree Photo Club in 2020 and 2021. And then was asked to be president of Professional Photographers of Colorado in 2022. Wow. So I did that the last 3 years. Wow. I can now say that I'm past president, but still active with the board. And it was through that organization that I really got into taking photos of people. We have a lot of really good professional photographers that specialize in portraits and headshots, and a few times with weddings and family portraits and so forth. So it was through those last 3 or 4 years that I really took a strong interest in photographing people. So that brings me to today. As you see here, we're in this studio. I just joined up with Joe Kuhn, and he has done a lot of photography of high-end weddings, and also the two of us are going to do a lot more headshots for people here in the Denver and metro area. So that's a bit of background as to what got me to where I am today.
Right. All the way to this beautiful studio. So we're going to break things down into sections because, one, he's incredibly talented. Two, the way he can capture lighting and shadowing and your features and I've had photos with him before, so I can speak from that, is really amazing. So we're going to start off with our first part of your photography. Now, recently you went viral on everything. News channels, newspapers, Instagram, I think it was like millions of views, and you were at a beautiful mountain space here in Colorado. And tell us a little bit about how that happened, what you've seen, and then all the aftermath from that.
Okay.
So exciting.
I'll start with the beginning of that. It was a day that I never expected to develop the way that it did. So I was up at Mount Blue Sky, formerly Mount Evans, and the alarm went off at 3:15 in the morning. This was in last June. And 3:15 in the morning, and I actually hit the snooze button thinking, I don't really feel like getting up right now. And then I said, I'm already awake, let me go ahead and go up. So got in the car, went up Mount Blue Sky, just up there in the mountains. As I was driving part way up, I was taking photographs of some of the trees. They have ancient bristlecone pine trees, so I used some of that as part of my landscape photography. And I thought, well, let me go a little bit further up the mountain and see. I know sometimes there's mountain goats up there, and then I'll just go, see what I can find up there. Came across, and there was a car that was parked. There was another gentleman there that was photographing the mountain goats there were a couple baby mountain goats that were there in front of, happened to be a Subaru that had a Yakima rack on top of it. So they were, the goats were sort of playing around, and I was photographing the baby mountain goats. All of a sudden, two of the adults get up and they start jumping on top of the Subaru, And so I used my cell phone at this stage. I was already taking photos with this camera that's back here behind me, my wildlife camera. All of a sudden the mountain goats start, dancing around, and one of them gets up on the top of the rack, the storage rack, and starts doing this little dance on top, which I never expected. So I take out my phone and I think it was like 30 seconds of video. Didn't really think that much of it, sent it to one of the local news channels. When I got back home, immediately they put it out there. And then I had a lot of other news stations that were asking if they could use it. So the next phase was for me to say, how about this, rather than you just showing it, how about if I come in and interview and I can give a little bit of the behind the scenes, much like I'm doing right now, right? And I went through, how that evolved. Long story short, so then after that, we went ahead and a couple of the news channels played that. They also had access to the woman whose car it was. She had the Subaru. She was out on a big hike. Reason I want to say this too. The reason why I did not chase the mountain goats off of there was because the two baby goats were at one point between me and them. And with wildlife, you don't want to, any wildlife, same thing, whether it's bears, whether it's mountain goats in this case, other animals, you don't want to disturb, and especially if there's adults, they're going to be protective of their young ones. So, again, the mountain goats started doing their thing. I captured some video. And once, like I said, on my Instagram page, the owner of the other car had a friend who recognized that was her car. She said, "Hey, Mindy, this is your car." So the two of us connected. She happened to have a video of when she arrived at her car, and not she wasn't displeased. She was actually happy to see the mountain goat prints. And she said, "I wish I could have seen this." And lo and behold, I've got the video of all of this taking place. So that's where the news stations went. And then you talk about the viral aspect of it. My Instagram page got that video got 2.5 million views.
I mean, that's incredible.
And then I had people calling me from Nashville, from Orlando, from Los Angeles, saying, "Hey, we saw you and the goats on TV." So it was kind of that little short moments of fame or whatever in that. But
it's so exciting. And Subaru, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't use that in anything, because that car, yes, they were just on top of the car carrier thing, but they were pummeling that thing, and it took a licking and kept on ticking. So this is the viral video. Let me get you a little closer there. Sure. Oh wow, is that not so cool? That is so cool. And this is your newest 2025 calendar. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
So what I do is each year I go ahead and go through, and actually I reach out to friends and others in that as to which images they would like to see me put on the calendar. So naturally there's 12 months, there's a cover, and there's a cover page,
beautiful calendar.
And then the back, and then I include a lot of, whether it be mountain goats in that case, some of the birds, wildlife, city.
Look at this. This is downtown. This is Denver?
That was Coors Field as the fireworks were going off.
Gosh, look how beautiful that is. It's almost July.
That's right.
So where can people order those from if they wanted to order one?
So these are available on my website.
Okay. And what's that website?
It's www.michaelrynophotography.com.
There it is. So now we're going to switch in our next segment. You did a full-on photo shoot for one of my dearest lady friends, and her name is Adriana Morrison. She's also into the pageant scene. She's with the Health Revolution TV show on E360 TV. I want to make sure I'm saying that right. As well as LinkedIn, and millions of followers between her TikTok and her LinkedIn and her socials. She's definitely a mover and the shaker in the Denver metro scene. She's been on the show here before, but you recently did a photo shoot for her, and I got chills. The photos, the quality, the beautiful photos you took of her. I mean, it elevated her brand.
Sure.
It elevated her presence, her posts. Whenever she does one of those photos that you did with whatever poster stuff that she's putting out on her socials, it's just oh my God, who did at these photos, and of course, it's you. Tell us a little bit about that photo shoot. And how you captured this beauty from her.
And thank you so much for bringing Adriana, who, like I said, is amazingly talented in everything that she does. And what it was actually we met at one of the networking events one morning, and she actually approached me when I described what she wanted to do was combine. She's had a lot of photography, obviously, of some of her, pageant and other studio type work in that. She wanted, and knowing that I also do outdoor photography, her thought was, hey, let's incorporate some of the outdoors, nature. In her case, she also wanted horses, so happened to have a good friend, Carly Palmer, who has a horse on a ranch out in Sedalia. So we got together, coordinated. Wouldn't you know it, that the day that we scheduled that for was the day that we got a foot of snow, brand new fresh snow. It actually turned up being a blessing in that, because she was able to get on the horse. We took some photos of her on the horse. We also took some photos in the barn. I used some different techniques in that to get some silhouettes and some other things in that. So those were part of, she wanted some of those as part of her entries for the pageant magazine that goes out. And it was fun. My wife and I and Kari and her husband went to the actual, went to the event when they had the Mrs. Colorado pageant. So we got to watch that. I saw in the magazine there the photo that I had taken of her on the horse, and just had a blast. But she's been a delight to work with all the way through.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady. And she must have brought like 20 suitcases, because there was so many outfit changes. I was like, oh my God. She just looked incredible. And you caught her beauty, the lighting, the angles. It was really well done. So I just wanted to give you a huge shout out for that, because it was really impressive. So let's switch gears a little bit and say, what would you tell someone who was wanting to come into photography, a complete amateur, just wanting to start out? What would be maybe some of the guidelines or teaching or training that you could possibly offer?
Great question, because I went through the same thing myself. Like I say, I would highly encourage getting. You can even, it doesn't take require the highest level of camera in that, but just get a camera. Cell phones do great, but these other cameras have some other things that you can do, features and so forth that are a little bit better. What I would encourage is what I did was, like I said, I got home with my camera, didn't really know what aperture was, shutter speed, and all of these things. Right? I opened up the box. It's like, okay, the instructions are one thing. Looked at a couple of videos, but then I went and I mentioned that I joined Lone Tree Photo Club. It was my first start. So depending upon where you live, anywhere in the world and so forth, there's probably a photo club or some kind of a place like that, just to go, one, meet people, and two, learning from. You're going to have people that are giving presentations. You're going to have people that are going to make workshops. And so I've gone through that process with the Lone Tree Photo Club, and then, like I say, with Professional Photographers of Colorado. And again, it's one of the state affiliates within PPA, Professional Photographers of America. But again, that took me up to that next level. I think that's where I really started learning these kind of things, how to use the lights, how to photograph people. The big part of that too is getting expressions from people, making sure you're getting their personality. These are things that it comes with time. It takes a little bit of experience. But to go back to your point, I think joining one of those clubs, those two clubs in particular, were instrumental in terms of getting me to these next levels. Got the Master of Photography degree through PPA. A lot of that had to do with learning from those organizations.
So would you suggest a photography school for like a complete amateur, or going in and getting in groups first, or which would you really suggest?
Sure. And I never really went through the whole school part of it. I think you can.
You are natural.
For those that are really.
It's natural.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, but again, I learned from people who had been through photography schools and so forth, right? So those organizations are good. There are even like at community colleges in that. They have degrees, they have programs. Looking back on it, I sort of wish I would have taken that path maybe further back in my career. But it's worked out okay in terms of with the clubs. So the clubs is I would say a little bit less expensive, a little bit less initial commitment in terms of the time and energy and that you will put into it.
But you may be with professionals.
Right. You're still working with people who know.
Mentor.
And the good thing about this is with the organizations that I've been involved with is, now myself, but when I first started, there's a lot of other members in that are willing to share their knowledge, willing to help you answer questions and sort of give you the guidance all the way through.
Okay, well, there you go. Amateur photographers or people who are wanting to get into photography, definitely connect with him, follow him on all of his socials so you can really get that base of mentorship and being around those professional photographers will probably give you a better insight than joining that amateur beginning school, or do both. We're going to switch gears a little bit more, and we've got a couple really great segments in this show today. Now, recently, you are going to be doing a project with some city officials, and tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, great! Yeah, great question, and thank you for bringing that up. So I had, I'm going to bring up real quickly Fog Fine Art. I'm one of 4 members,
Okay.
and so the 4 of us. This is how we go about, and there's a website, Fog Fine Art. This is how we go about selling our, some of my nature, landscape, wildlife photography, a little bit separate from.
Just beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And again, those are different from doing the portraits and the people photography, which I enjoy both aspects. Fog Fine Art, we have 3 other members: Cheryl Moore, Jeff Johnson, and David Snyder. And so the 4 of us together have that website, and so I have some of the images out there. So what happened was, actually, it was my friend David Snyder, who was he had a show that was going on down in Douglas County. The people at the Douglas County Fairgrounds wanted some images of Douglas County in their show space and that. So they ordered some big 60 by 40 inch metal prints that were down there at the Douglas County Fairgrounds.
Now, just before we get it, that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity. Yeah. I'm really appreciative of, again, my involvement with the Fog Fine Art, the fact that I'm the one who lives in Douglas County of the 4 of us, so I just happen to have those images. Yeah. So thank you, and so what happened, what transpired from there is the images that were up there, somebody from the Douglas County Commissioner's Office was over and asked, hey, where did you get these photos? And so they referred it over to me. And so literally this morning I'm processing the invoices and that for, they're ordering 3 big, again, 60 by 40 inch prints for the Douglas County Commissioner's Office. So these are how
big time.
So and again, it was like I said, I want to bring up the Fog Fine Art. I want to make sure that people can go take a look at that website because it's not just my photos, but 3 other very talented individuals that are part of that group.
But to have 3 pieces in the commissioner's office, now will there be a little plate or a plaque next to that?
I need to go get those. Like
you got to do that as well.
I'll make sure that that's part of it.
Real pretty and match the frame.
That's right.
So that's going to segue us into this next question. Once that momentum starts to happen, and Colorado loves Colorado, so whether it is a public office, a government office, a hotel, you go into some of these beautiful facilities and you see nature, you see mountains, you see animals, all here from Colorado.
Right.
Are you going to be able to keep up with that as this grows and grows and grows? And I could tell you they're doing major renovation out at some of the hotels near the airport. So when people are coming into those types of luxury hotels, seeing those types of artwork and photography, I mean, you're just going to continue to propel.
These are part of our target market, like I said, with the Fog Fine Art, myself. Also, if employees at those locations want portraits and things like that, incorporate all of that together is where I'm moving in that direction.
I'm so excited to see the next 6 months to a year. You're going to be having stuff hanging down in Denver, maybe the mayor's office.
Sure.
Mr. Johnson.
We do have. So I do. Thank you for bringing that. I also do some cityscapes. I was going to say that too. So for the Denver community, I have a national award-winning image that I had from Union Station last year. So I won a national award for that one. Just yesterday morning, right on the web, before we met at a breakfast meeting, I took some photos of Union Station with the reflections. And
so that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So I do have some. Also, sometimes people want nature with mountains and maybe mountain goats or whatever, elk and so forth. And that I've got all of those. But then also I put a lot of time and effort into my city. In fact, when I used to work with the bank up downtown, I used to bring a camera with me and use those as the opportunities to capture downtown images. Now that I'm working here in the studio downtown, it's going to give me more opportunity.
Oh yeah, you'll be down here all the time. I mean, this is incredible. And that's going to segue into our next part. This camera here, tell me a little bit about this camera, and it's a Nikon.
Nikon, this one happens to be a D850. I've got a Nikon Z7 II that's sitting over there that I use for more of my portrait type work and my people work. This one I use a lot of times for my landscape and for my wildlife. This longer lens, so when you see some of the photos that I have of, say, an elk that's a couple hundred yards away, with this I can get that distance.
And it looks like it's got a little base so that it's not shaking or moving.
Yeah. So I've got, again, all of the gear as far as like tripods, handhold. As you just lifted this one up, this one's a little bit heavier.
It's very heavy.
But
I was like, oh my God.
So the tripod kind of helps us steady it.
And then something like turned inside and out there, is it digital?
So the lens extends out to
amazing.
Get more depth and so forth.
So now, what are some of these things that we're setting around? What are these types of things used for in your photography?
Yeah. So what we have here is I think they can't quite see this one, but there's a big 6 foot by 4 foot softbox here, and so we've got the Pro Photo lights that are this is one of the top brands in terms of lighting equipment. And what the softboxes do is whenever you're taking portraits, rather than just have trying to use the lights that are here in the studio, these give you a lot more control. So I can pick up the right shadow and get the right depth, get the right angle, and these give me so much more control over lighting and getting the right look as compared to trying to use just the ambient light that's in here. To be honest, we can also use kind of smaller ones in that whenever you go outdoors to get a little bit more directional light whenever you're photographing people that are, whether it's families, whether it's portraits that are in a city scene, or whether it's out there in nature. Some that are a little bit more portable than these big ones. But that's what we use these lights for. We've got the backdrops, and I can always change out the backdrop to something that looks a little bit different if you don't want just the solid gray.
Well, the gray, I'm happy you brought that up, because the gray, this would be so great for a LinkedIn professional photo where you want to really look professional and put together for your LinkedIn page, or maybe you're getting ready to do a big presentation and you need a great new photo to go along with that. Right here. And then it looks like there's other colors up there, like a white, or if you want to put something in digitally behind a photo.
There's white, there's the gray. I can also color those up with what we call gels. It's like some plastic things that you put over the lights if you want to put on a different color. There's also a couple of them that are specifically for portraits that have some texture in them. So we have here in the studio, I think about 5 backdrops that will drop down from over there, and we've got 4 or 5 hand-painted backdrops that are over here.
Wow.
That again can be used for giving a different look.
And you guys are only seeing a portion of this. It's incredible in here. There's so many gadgets and fun things and different colored seating, and if you want to have a beautiful photo, just gorgeous. I'm really excited to watch your career over the next 6 months to a year. 2025 has definitely been rocking and rolling for you, and this is just like the tip of the iceberg. So 2026, 2027, you might be downtown at City Hall with your photos hanging in there. Could you just imagine?
That would be great. So like I said, that's what we're doing right now, is in the process of building all that, building the marketing, getting the website, and we've been continually add to the website with new material that comes out. So
it's so much more than just pointing and clicking. There's so much that goes into it. So again, if you're wanting to get into photography, he would be a great mentor. Also, just following him on his socials and really getting the angle and the eye and the coloring and the shading and the shadow and figuring out how he does all of that is really incredible. I'm going to ask you 2 questions that I ask every guest that comes on my show. And you've watched some of my episodes, so you know what these are. If Michael could go back to his 15-year-old self, what would be the thing that you would say for where you're at right now in this seat?
So going back to when I was 15, and at the time I was heavy into swimming and aquatics. That was high school, or just getting the beginning part of high school. Sunshine, California. That was did a lot of, yeah, exactly, in Fresno, California, and then in Long Beach State is where I went to school. If I went back to that time, I wish I would have, I really, when I look back on it, I don't have any regrets over anything that I've done over that whole period. But when I was really young, I had a small camera that didn't really think anything of it, but I know now that I was destined to do photography later on. But if I could go back to that 15-year-old self, I really wouldn't change too much in terms of what I did, where I went to school, the water polo, the aquatics,
just
the
maybe
lifeguarding
photography
and all that.
earlier.
But getting into photography, I was going the long way about saying I wish I would have taken what I had already been interested in back when I was 8 and 9 years old, and then at 15, and then done some of that. That way, I could have been further along as I was through college, and then later on, still maybe still done some of the corporate work and so forth and that I did over time. Got to meet a lot of great people, still stay in contact with them. But a long way of saying, I think I wish I would have kept the photography thing going all the way through that. Called 15 to 30 years old versus waiting till a little bit later in life.
It's funny because everything in the universe happens for a reason and a time and a place, and this is where you're at today, recently award-winning. So just super duper excited. I'm so excited to see the next 6 months to a year with you. Next question is, what would be the legacy that you'd want to leave to your 80-year-old self with your photography, your career, your friends, your family, your colleagues?
Yeah, right now, it's, part of it is just, I love meeting new people and that. And so everybody who I meet, hopefully, follows me on some of my social media and so forth and that. But I don't do it for the, the fame, the popularity. I do it just, the genuine liking to be around people, liking to do that. I think if there's legacy and maybe a little bit of why I'm doing it and so forth is that, I'm creating, one, memories for my clients and that. But I do, if I do the photography of them, so it's not maybe a legacy that is of me, but it's something that they can pass on to their sibling, their children and their next generations and so forth going forward.
I think it goes a little bit further than that, and I think here it is, and this is it. And I'm going to give you your aha moment. It's capturing moments in time.
Yep.
That cannot be erased. That cannot be altered or changed. You were there in the universe at that time, and the universe presented those goats on the silver for you, or that buck in the field, or the way you said. We're good friends. He and I just love him. We're at all our networking events. He sent me a photo yesterday of the cityscape and the water and it reflecting. And one, how you caught that. Two, how you knew that was, you could open a magazine and that would be in there talking about how amazing Deborah is. So I think the universe and you are somehow aligned, and it's saying, I'm going to give you these precious moments, and what you do with them and where they go from there is all on Michael Ryno.
Sure. and thank you for that. So what's so funny about that is like whether it's the mountain goats and whether I would have not hit that snooze alarm and if I would have slept through it, all of a sudden that doesn't happen. Getting up at 3 a.m. to go do something like that. Yesterday morning, I think I mentioned to you that I knew it was raining throughout the night. I know that's but it ended up being a blessing because that's what. And so the reason why I got up earlier yesterday morning is I mentioned, I think we had an 8 o'clock breakfast meeting. Well, I was up downtown at 6:30, knowing that it had been raining. Knowing that rain,
the stillness, the quietness, the ability to get in there and get it.
There's not as many people for one. And then I knew that was going to create the puddles that are down there. So there was, to your point, there's times where I get lucky and just happen to stumble across something like mountain goats. There's other times where I'm actually thinking and I'm pre-visualizing something such as I knew that those puddles were forming over there. I know where Union Station is. It's like, okay, now it's a matter of going there and executing. But being there at the moment, to your point, it's if I slept in and just showed up to the meeting at 8, it still would have been a wonderful time, right? You had a lot of great people at the meeting that we were at yesterday morning. But had I just gone straight to that, I would have missed this other opportunity.
But I seen your mind's eye. You're walking around that open space at Serendipity Labs with that camera. You knew you were gonna get a shot. And there was even a shot that you got from the bay windows of all of downtown. And it was really beautiful, and it really lets you know that we are in a big little city. And I'm just really excited and over the moon for everything that's coming your way. Can you give us your handles, websites,
Sure.
LinkedIn, all of the good things?
Yeah, so handles, Instagram is a place to find a lot of what I am doing here currently in that. And so 2 Instagram pages. The one that has my landscape, nature, wildlife, cityscapes is at the @ MNRYNO. And then we've got, then I've got one called Ryno Portraits, RYNO Portraits, spelled portraits. That's also the @ symbol.
Okay.
Those are my 2 Instagram pages. I mentioned earlier, Fog Fine Art is where I have a lot of the images that with the other 3 photographers in that. So it's fogfineart.com. And then I also have Ryno Portraits is a website that Ryno Portraits. And the last one is Michael Ryno Photography. So
.com.
.com. Correct.
Perfect.
Yep.
And that could be a great segue. Does your website have all your social media links as well? Follow me.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Perfect. And
yeah.
say that again.
So there's LinkedIn, obviously. And
Yeah.
things like that. So yeah.
Michael Ryno
MichaelRynoPhotography.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show for today. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for having us in this beautiful studio with all of this modern equipment. Again, if you're needing some professional photos for LinkedIn or a presentation, he is your guru guy. Maybe you're watching this at the mayor's office and you want some of those beautiful portraits hanging. Maybe DIA Airport, when folks are coming into our beautiful state, seeing some of his incredible photography would be incredible as well. Have you thought about maybe doing a table book?
Yeah, I've done these before, and that it's time for me to update those.
Yeah.
Similar like what I do here with my the calendar.
Yeah.
It's probably take some of the ones that I've taken here over the last few years and do a newer one. I've done those a couple times a few years back, but it's time to update and do a new one.
I think next year in 2026, we're going to have him back on the show. And I think the journey from today to then is going to blow our minds of what's coming from Michael Ryno Photography. I am honored to be your friend and colleague in business. We're at networking events and functions all throughout the month, and every time I see him, he's always got a great attitude and loves people and networking and just a wonderful guy. So connect with him on all his social media